You don't realize it yet. But the moment you stop reacting is the moment you become dangerous. Not loud, not aggressive, not emotional, untouchable. Most people are trapped in a silent prison. They react to everything. A message, comment, a look, a tone, a delay. And every reaction drains them, weakens them, and gives power away, piece by piece. But what if the real power was never in responding? What if your silence is what makes people respect you, fear you, and even chase you? Because here's the truth no one tells you. The person who controls their reaction controls everything. And today you're going to learn how ignoring people, strategically, deliberately, and powerfully, can transform your life, your confidence, and your mental strength forever. 1. Ignoring is not weakness, it's controlled power. Most people think ignoring someone means you're hurt, scared, or incapable of responding. That's completely wrong. Ignoring someone is one of the highest forms of self-control. It means you had the option to react, but you chose not to. That choice is power. Think about it. Anyone can react. Anyone can argue. Anyone can defend themselves. That's the easiest thing in the world. But to stay calm when provoked, to remain silent when disrespected, to walk away when your ego is screaming for revenge, that takes strength most people will never develop. When you ignore nonsense, you're telling the world something without saying a word. You don't deserve my energy. And energy is your most valuable resource. Every time you react emotionally, you hand over control. You allow someone else to decide how you feel. You let them pull your strings. But when you ignore, you cut the strings. You become self-directed. And suddenly, people can't control you anymore. And that makes them uncomfortable. Because people are used to reactions. They expect noise. They depend on it. Your silence disrupts their expectations. And that's where your power begins. 2. Not everything deserves your attention. You are losing your mental strength in places you don't even notice. Small arguments, petty comments, unnecessary explanations, people who don't understand you, people who don't even want to understand you. And the worst part? You think you need to respond. You don't. Not everything deserves your attention. In fact, most things don't. Every time you give attention to something meaningless, you are robbing something meaningful of your focus, your goals, your growth, your peace. Attention is currency. Where you spend it determines your life. Weak minds react to everything. Strong minds choose carefully. Imagine walking through a busy street. People are talking, shouting, arguing, laughing. Do you stop and respond to every voice? Of course not. So why do you do it in your life? Why do you respond to every opinion, every criticism, every misunderstanding? The moment you realize that most things are distractions, you become selective. And selection is power. When you stop reacting to everything, two things happen. You gain peace, and you gain respect. Because people notice when you don't engage in chaos. They start to wonder. They start to question. And most importantly, they start to take you seriously. 3. Silence makes people reveal themselves. Here's something powerful most people never understand. When you stop talking, people start exposing themselves. When you argue, interrupt, or defend yourself constantly, you give others a chance to hide, twist things, or manipulate the situation. But when you stay silent, they keep talking. And the more they talk, the more they reveal their true intentions, their insecurities, and their lack of control. Silence is not empty. Silence is observation. It allows you to see people clearly, without the noise of emotion. You start noticing patterns. Who gets triggered easily? Who tries to dominate conversations? Who seeks attention? Who thrives on conflict? And once you see clearly, you can never be controlled the same way again. Silence also creates psychological pressure. People expect reactions. They expect defense. They expect engagement. When they don't get it, they become uncomfortable. They start overthinking. They start questioning themselves. Did I go too far? Why aren't they reacting? Do they even care? And in that moment, you shift the power dynamic completely, without saying a word. 4. Ignoring destroys manipulation. Most people don't realize how often they are being controlled. Not physically, but emotionally. Manipulators don't need force. They use reactions. They provoke, they guilt trip, they criticize, they withdraw just to make you respond. Because the moment you react, they've won. They don't need to be right. They just need your attention. And the more emotional your reaction is, the more control they gain over you. But here's the secret. Manipulation only works if you participate. The moment you stop reacting, the entire game collapses. When you ignore a manipulator, something strange happens. They lose their script. They don't know what to do next. Because they were counting on your anger. They were expecting your defense. They were waiting for your explanation. But your silence removes their weapon. And suddenly, they are left exposed, trying harder, pushing more, revealing their intentions more clearly. That's when you see the truth. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions. Not everyone deserves a response. And when you realize that, you become harder to control than ever before. 5. Emotional reactions make you predictable. If someone can predict your reaction, they can control your behavior. It's that simple. If they know you'll get angry when criticized, they'll use criticism to provoke you. If they know you'll chase when ignored, they'll withdraw to control you. If they know you'll explain yourself under pressure, they'll pressure you. You become a pattern, a script, predictable response. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. But when you start ignoring things that used to trigger you, you break the pattern. You become unpredictable. And unpredictability creates power. People no longer know how to approach you. They hesitate. They think twice. They become careful because they can't read you anymore. And in a world where everyone reacts instantly, the person who doesn't react becomes mysterious and powerful. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to respond to everything. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is no move at all. 6. Silence is a form of quiet dominance. There's a reason powerful people speak less. Because they understand something most people don't. The less you say, the more your words matter. And the less you react, the more your presence is felt. Silence creates weight. When you speak all the time, react to everything, and explain yourself constantly, people get used to you. Your words lose value. Your reactions become expected. But when you are selective, when you only speak when necessary, when you only respond when it matters, people listen, people watch, people pay attention. Silence also forces others to fill the gap. And when they do, they often reveal more than they should. That's why silence is not passive. It's strategic. It's controlled. It's intentional. You're not being quiet because you're weak. You're being quiet because you're in control. And control is the ultimate form of strength. When you master silence, you don't need to dominate loudly. You dominate quietly. And that kind of power is far more intimidating than noise. 7. Ignoring builds unshakable self-respect. Every time you react to something beneath you, you lower your own value. Not in people's eyes first, but in your own. Because deep down, you know when something isn't worth your attention. You feel it. That moment when you're about to respond, and something inside you whispers, "This isn't worth it," but you respond anyway. And afterward, there's regret. That quiet frustration. That feeling of, "I shouldn't have even entertained that." That's your self-respect taking a hit. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine choosing silence, choosing to walk away, choosing not to engage with things that don't align with your standards. Something powerful happens inside you. You start trusting yourself more. You start seeing yourself differently. You start realizing, I don't need to react to prove anything. And that's where real confidence comes from. Not from winning arguments, but from knowing which ones are not worth your energy. Self-respect is built in moments like this. Not in big achievements, but in small decisions. Every time you ignore what doesn't deserve you, you reinforce a new identity. I value my peace more than I value being right. And that identity changes everything. 8. Walking away increases your value. People don't value what is always available. They value what is selective. rare, controlled. When you respond to everything, explain yourself to everyone, and make yourself constantly accessible, you become predictable and easy to overlook. But when you start pulling back, when you stop reacting, stop over-explaining, and stop chasing, your value rises, not because you're playing games, but because you're no longer giving your energy away freely. Scarcity creates value, and your attention is one of the most valuable things you have. When you ignore disrespect, distance yourself from chaos, and walk away from situations that drain you, people notice. Some will respect you, some will be confused, some will even be drawn to you, because now your presence is no longer guaranteed. And what is not guaranteed becomes desired. You're no longer trying to convince people of your worth. You're showing it through your actions, without words, without explanations, without effort, just by what you tolerate and what you refuse to entertain. 9. When you stop chasing, people start chasing you. This is one of the most powerful psychological shifts you will ever experience. The more you chase people, the more they pull away. The more you try to prove yourself, the less they value you. The more you seek attention, the less you receive it. But the moment you stop, everything changes. When you stop chasing validation, approval, or attention, you send a silent message. I am enough without you. And that message is powerful because it removes pressure. It removes neediness. It removes desperation. And people are naturally drawn to those who are not desperate. When you ignore the urge to chase, you become centered, focused, grounded. And ironically, that's when people begin to notice you more. They start wondering why you've changed, why you're no longer reacting, why you're no longer available in the same way. And curiosity pulls them in. But here's the key. You're not ignoring people to make them chase you. You're ignoring what doesn't serve you to protect your peace. And if people come toward you because of that, that's just a side effect of your strength. 10. Ignoring protects your inner peace like nothing else. Peace is not something you find. It's something you protect. And most people are losing it daily. Not because life is hard, but because they allow everything to enter their mind. Every opinion, every insult, every unnecessary conversation, every bit of drama. They let it in, and then wonder why they feel overwhelmed, distracted, and mentally exhausted. But here's the truth. Your mind is a space, and not everyone deserves access to it. Ignoring people is not about arrogance, it's about boundaries. When you start ignoring negativity, disrespect, and chaos, you are doing something powerful. You are choosing what gets to exist in your mental world. And that choice changes everything. Because what you allow in your mind shapes your emotions. And your emotions shape your life. When you stop reacting to everything, your mind becomes quieter, clearer, stronger. You're no longer dragged into unnecessary stress. You're no longer pulled into emotional battles that don't matter. You start living with intention instead of reaction. And that's what peace really is. Not the absence of noise, but the ability to remain untouched by it. 11. Emotional detachment is strength, not coldness. A lot of people misunderstand this. They think ignoring people means you become cold, distant, or emotionless. That's not what this is. This is not about shutting down your emotions. It's about mastering them. There's a difference. Being emotional means you feel everything and react instantly. Being emotionally strong means you feel everything, but choose your response. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't let everything affect you. You care, but with control. You observe, but without absorbing unnecessary negativity. You engage, but only when it aligns with your values. That's real strength, because now your emotions are no longer controlling you. You are controlling them. You don't get pulled into every situation. You don't get triggered by every word. You don't feel the need to prove yourself constantly. You become steady, grounded, calm under pressure. And that kind of presence is rare. It makes people trust you, respect you, and sometimes even fear you, because they know they can't shake you. 12. The ultimate Stoic mindset. Become unbothered. At the highest level. This is what it all leads to. Not silence, not ignoring, not detachment, but something deeper, being unbothered. When you are truly unbothered, you don't ignore people to prove a point. You don't stay silent to gain control. You don't detach to protect your ego. You simply are unaffected. Criticism doesn't shake you. Disrespect doesn't pull you in. Opinions don't define you. You understand something most people don't. People act based on who they are, not who you are. And once you truly accept that, you stop taking things personally. You stop reacting. You stop engaging in unnecessary battles. You stop giving your energy to things that don't deserve it. You become focused on what actually matters: your growth, your purpose, your peace. And from that place, you move differently. You speak less, but with more impact. You react less, but with more intention. You engage less, but with more purpose. You are no longer controlled by the outside world. You are controlled from within. And that is the highest form of power. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, the next time you feel the urge to respond, the next time your emotions start rising, pause and remember this: not everything deserves your reaction. Not everyone deserves your energy. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing.